Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 152. I'm Emily McDermott, and I'm here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. I'm very excited today to bring you a snippet of a coaching call that I had recently. I offer both virtual and in-person decluttering and professional organizing help. If you live in the greater Washington, D.C. area, I would love to meet you in your home and do an in-home assessment so that we can come up with a plan of attack. But also for virtual calls, we can do a conversation about mindset shifts that might need to happen, which is really what Vanessa and I talk about on this call. And also we can look tactically at one or two areas in your home and come up with an action plan for that. So I'm really excited to bring you this conversation. Vanessa has 8 kids, ranging from 2 that are out of the house, 4 teenagers, and then 2 little ones that are 3 and 5. So she has a wide range of ages in her home. And we talk about getting family members on board, including her husband and also her kids. We talk about the struggles with her owning a resale shop and wanting to bring stuff into her home instead of having it at the resale shop, and how we can really prioritize what matters most and have that why that can drive our decisions about what we keep and what we let go of. So without further ado, grab that notebook and pen and let's dive into my conversation with Vanessa. Hey there, Mama. Are you tired of all the stuff crowding your home, calendar, and mind? Do you wish you could say goodbye to the endless to-do list running around in your head? Want to declutter but don't know where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to Moms Overcoming Overwhelm, where you will find proven and practical solutions to declutter your home, head, and heart. Hi, I'm Emily, a wife, boy mom, and simplicity seeker. I struggled to get pregnant and felt overwhelmed until I discovered decluttering could create the physical and emotional space I needed to become a mom. Now, 2 kids later, I've transformed my life and motherhood by developing simple systems around decluttering, capsule wardrobes, kid stuff, cleaning and tidying, meal planning, time management, and more, and I can't wait to share them with you. If you're ready to reclaim the time and energy you crave, be present with your kids, and finally enjoy the life and motherhood you so deserve, let's kick overwhelm to the curb, shall we? Grab your lukewarm coffee, your notebook and pen, and clear off some counter space. Let's do this. So, I'm sure you have nothing going on in your life because you're a mom of 8. just sitting around doing nothing. Just kidding. But I know that the main things you were talking about were kind of getting people on board and then also kind of bringing stuff into the home when you own the resale shop. And so I thought we could just sort of dive in. I did email you some podcast episodes to listen to that I've done. Most of them are short. Anything that's a solo episode is 15 minutes or less. Anything that's like a interview is 30 minutes, but you can always listen to it on 1.5 speed if you want to. But those are just kind of supporting, the things that I talk about with clients. So why don't you tell me a little bit about struggles as far as like everyone being on board, and is that for decluttering or just kind of keeping up with the home and those systems, or what would you say it was, like more decluttering or more like keeping up with systems in the home?
My kids are really good about decluttering because I honestly feel like, Emily, because I have so many kids, and especially when they were younger, I really was well diverse and flexible and always strategized systems and had things in place. Like certain kids had certain colors of towels, so I knew whose towel belonged to who, and a certain amount of cups or colors for drinks, and like all the organizational stuff, like the Monday through, the 7-day wardrobe thing, cubby for each kid, and getting things ready the night before, and doing all of the things, right? So kind of back up a little bit. My kids now are 24 to 3-year-old. Okay. And so I currently have 2 young adults who don't live in the home. And then I have 4 teenagers that are a freshman to a senior. So every year for the next 4 years, having one graduate. Being
Hmm.
that said, so the first six were very close in age. They were stair steppers. It was very easy to entertain and to organize and to declutter and things like that because, they did a lot of the similar things. Now they're all teenagers and adults. They have different interests. They have different things they like and different things they want to hold on to and things like that. So, and now it's not as easy as like, let me help them declutter. It's like I have to respect, I also want to respect the things that they value. And that's important to me. But I also want them to know like we can't keep everything either because I'm not somebody who is I'm more so now, because I'm an older mom with my 3 and 5 year old, more sentimental with some things that I necessarily wasn't with my older kids. And so I do find that sometimes more of a struggle with the younger ones, keeping stuff, but also with the older ones, like I feel like they're really good about because I'm constantly always decluttering all the time because I feel like if I don't, then I am extremely stressed out. Like I get very way of de-stressing myself is decluttering, but a way of also erasing my stress in my body is having too much stuff as well. And it's kind of like that constant battle where I declutter, but then I'm bringing stuff back into the home. And so when I say getting like people on board, I have a vision and I have a aspiration to homeschool my 2 younger kids,
Hmm.
and to do travel the world in our RV for some time and possibly do short-term living in an RV, but I know that the belongings and the things have to go. So those are things that I've been really working, not no semester with my kids because they all plan the four that I have in home that are in teenagers now. They do plan on going to college and stuff like that, but more so with my husband. Like he loves gadgets, he loves tools, he loves, like certain things he likes to collect. And I'm like, we can't take this with us on the road. So we have to stop. So it's kind of more that he's gotten a lot better on being on board with releasing things. And more so now that I have a resale shop. I was doing that because I was selling on Kidizen and Macari and eBay and things like that, because I had lots of kids and I had items. And I like to tell people like I rip my kids' clothes because when they outgrew it, I would resell it. So basically, I would recoup whatever I spent, because I also bought it secondhand, but then sometimes I would make a profit off of it and things like that. So I opened this resale shop once my little ones became, because it's only since February that I've had this shop. So it's fairly new. So I'm learning even systems and organizations in my shop as well. And so what I know is like I find things that people donate because it's a donation based shop. And I'm like, ooh, I like this. And so I've tried to do like if I bring one thing in, I have to take 3 things out kind of thing. But being that there's 8 of us in the house, it still adds up, right? But I do want to simplify my life. And I know I'm in a season where I need to do that for my own mental health and my well-being. And also, like the kids do really good. Like they'll go declutter their closet and be like, this is all for the shop. And they bring baskets of stuff or, things like that. So for me, it's this constant. I was raised in a family where my parents still to this day are hoarders. And it's an environment that bred a lot of chaos and uncertainty in my life. And it's something that I constantly battle every single day with organizing and decluttering. Like I spend a lot of my time doing it and it consumes a lot of my time. And I'm almost like in a hamster wheel. Like I feel like I cannot ever do enough of the organizing or the decluttering. And so I want to get to a place where I can say like I'm being productive with other things besides doing that. And I have the mental space, within myself and in my environment where I'm not feeling like I'm holding on to things that are not serving me. And I've gotten a lot better with releasing stuff for that someday I may need this. And I even tell my husband, like, we don't have to keep all the bolts and the nuts. Like, if we really need a replacement, we can go to the hardware store and pay 20, 30 cents for it because we're probably most likely not going to find that bolt or that nut that we need when we need it. So it's stuff like that, but it's trying to get people on board in my house that understands those concepts too, and but still honor them. So that, I don't know if I answered your question, but that's
Yes,
kind
good.
of what I'm kind of dealing with.
Yeah, you totally answered my question. And there's a couple pieces that I want to pull out from what you were saying. Part of it is that I think it's great that your why is very clear. So for you personally. You have your mental health and your well-being, and I'm the same way. I talk sometimes on the podcast about the connection between clutter and anxiety, and it actually does raise our cortisol levels. There's like scientific studies to show it. It also impacts our kids. So having so much in their environment, it's visual stimulus overwhelm, it's tactile stimulus overwhelm for your real little ones. So you get it, like you understand why it's important. And then also having this goal for yourself, but also your family to be able to downsize and have that RV life and have that freedom. And so being able to articulate those whys to your family members in a way that makes sense for you and your family is really important. I think the first thing would be to have a conversation with your husband, and you probably are already having conversations, but to explain to him how it's impacting your mental and emotional health. Because a lot of times we know it, but we're not articulating that to our family members, especially our spouse. And to just know, like, to me, it's not just extra stuff, because our brain sees that as things that we need to do. So dishes in the sink, that's us. Papers on the table, that's stuff we have to do. That's stuff, and you take the primary role of cleaning, of organizing, of decluttering. So that load is on you. So he may not be aware of how much that's impacting you, and the why behind why you want to change, and to understand that this freedom of being able to homeschool and downsizing for the RV and like these dreams and hopes that you have for your family, it starts with you two being on the same page about what that means, and then being able to communicate that to your kids, and to have it come from a place of, this is our dream for our family, that we can do this RV life. This is like our vision, like having that family vision and bringing it back to that. So my first recommendation would be to have that conversation. I'm sure you've had more informal conversations, but have you ever had a conversation with your husband more about like how it impacts your health before?
No, I have not. And that's such a great point. And I'm glad you bring that up. And more so now than ever, Emily, I need this. Like, as I'm going into the perimenopause stage, and anxiety, yes, just anxiety that's starting to take over me that I've never experienced before in my life. And this is just like one more burden, right? That, I'm constantly like, what do I have to declutter? I don't like the way that this area is looking. Like, I feel like there's too much stuff here. And I just walk into this space sometimes, and I just feel overwhelmed. And I'm just like, okay, this is what I can control, right? I can control my space. And I do, which is funny because it leads into the next thing, which is my retail shop. We have like 900 square feet. It's packed to the rim, and we've been blessed by the town to donate generously, along with my big family of all the things that I've had. And because I used to sell online, so everything that I once had, that I was going to post, I didn't sell, or that I never got to posting, all got brought into the store. And so now we have more stuff. And so I have stuff in my house that I don't have space for in the store. So this afternoon, we're actually looking at a 3,600 square foot building that God has really lined up to help us be able to provide more for our town and have more space, but it not also be so cluttered, because that will also help my mental space in my home, because then I'll have an actual place where I can store the items and have more space, et cetera, et cetera. I think that, the mental health thing, it kind of leashes into my work environment too, because I'm also dealing with stuff that people brings me that are in the store. And so I'm like trying to detach myself from workload from like home. And so like, it kind of is like doing this, and so I'm so thankful that God has really brought in a space that could really work for us. And actually it's a lot more affordable than we currently paying per square footage. So God is really like bringing it big time. And is in a great location. We're kind of like a little bit more out. So it's just, everything's going to work out beautifully. But my whole thing is like, I feel like I'm getting a little bit more stressed. And during this perimenopause stage, like I was talking about, like, I feel like in my body is like telling me like, this is what I need to do. Like, I really need to get more serious about minimalizing things and having boundaries with myself. Like, no, I'm not bringing this home. No. And I've gotten a lot better because I'm like, I tell people when they pick something up that I really wanted to bring home, I'm like, I'm so glad you bought this. Because if it didn't sell today, I was going to take it home. And then, I mean, it's just being for real, you know? And sometimes I just can't, I just like, I'm going to take this. But I know too, like I tell myself, okay, I'm going to take this home. It's going to be a decor or it's going to be an item. And when I'm done with it, I'm going to bring it back and somebody else is going to have it. So that kind of alleviates some of that, you know, but at the same time, going back to have I had the discussion about how it affects me mentally and my health? No, but that's a great perspective because my thing is like, well, if we're going to RV our kids and go travel and let them actually see things in real life as we educate them, right? And world school them, we can't take this stuff with us. But I haven't really brought it into the now. Like, how is it affecting me right now? And why am I really wanting to do that? So that's a great point.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that when it comes to feeling the overwhelm of all the stuff that you have in the home, obviously it's like understanding the flow of what is coming into your home and why. So part of it is that, you know, because of the work that you're doing and because of this ability to be able to bring it back to resell, it's easy for you to justify being able to have something, you know, for a bit, because it is very low or fairly low cost to you financially. So you see like a vase that's really pretty and you're like, oh, I like that. And it's, you know, fairly inexpensive and I'm the boss. So I guess I could also make it less expensive if I wanted to, right? And you bring it in. But what you're not really maybe taking into account is that there's more than the cost of just the item. There's a cost of you maintaining it. There's a cost of you finding it. There's a cost to you cleaning it or cleaning around it. There's a cost of your time and your energy and your focus, every single thing that you own in your home, and even the things that are owned by your children, because it flows up to you as the CEO of your household. Those are all things that are in that like mental, emotional load that you are carrying. So when you have a vase that's really pretty, asking yourself, is this serving the greater why? Like, is this bringing me closer to my RV life? And chances are the answer is probably no. And it's not to say that you can't have nice things and you can't have gorgeous, beautiful things in your home, but you have to remember that everything has a cost. And it's not just, well, it's, you know, inexpensive, so I'll just bring it into my home. So I think understanding the true cost of the item is one thing to think about. The other thing I want to say real quick, I think just kind of understanding, you know, your background. And I talk to a lot of people whose parents have hoarding tendencies or they do, you know, they are diagnosed, you know, as hoarders. And just understanding that even though you've worked really hard to like go the complete opposite direction and to really stay on top of things, there's probably some aspects of that when it comes to finding security in stuff that may possibly be going on. It's kind of hard to tell, but just to be understanding like, well, why do I want this? Is it because it's a good deal? Is it because it's something that I think is going to make me happier? Is it something I need? Right? So just kind of like taking that pause moment to understand your motivation for bringing something into your home can help you maybe to make sure that you're being really intentional about that, because it's hard. It's hard, especially when you have kind of more like ingrained habits and everything. But it sounds like the two-pronged approach that I would recommend for you would be number one, being super intentional about what you're bringing in and what you're influenced by, which we can talk a little bit about here, like ads or emails or sales or, you know, that kind of stuff. And then also for the stuff that's already in your home, how to put stricter limits on what's already there. So I know I just hit you with a lot there, but do you have any thoughts about that? What I was just talking about?
No, I think that's great that you brought up, like it is bringing me closer to my goal, right? Of, living RV life, for a while and trying to figure out where we want to end up or what's next for us, as we raise our two smaller kids. And, I do have a goal and deadline, like, of course, in the next 4 years, like I said, I'm gonna have a kid graduating for the next 4 years. And so like, I'm giving myself that time during the 4 years to like minimize and to do those things and to ask myself, like, why do I really want this? What is it, what is it actually costing me? It's not costing me sometimes financially, but it is causing me, which it actually technically kind of is financially, right? Because you think about if I bring that vase home, I have to dust it. What am I dusting it with? With products or chemicals, with napkins? Like, what am I using? So it's kind of like digging deeper and really asking me these questions, really kind of gives me a different sense of direction. Because to me, I'm thinking, I mean, I'm lending it, I'm borrowing it. Like, I'm not paying for it. It's free, right? But is it really free?
Right. And that's so true. It's funny, my church just had kind of like a welcome back to church after the summer celebration. And they're like, everyone that's here today gets a free t-shirt, and everyone's like, yeah, and so normally like, the free swag and everyone's like, yeah, free swag. And for me, I'm always like very intentional about that. And then I thought, oh, okay, well, the shirt I had from my church, like I got a weird stain on it and I haven't been able to wear it to church. I'm like, okay, well, I need a replacement. Like I'll take a shirt, but not just kind of like, there's so many, especially with the work that you're doing, there's so many things, like the influx for you is very strong and it's hard to like separate out the flow coming into your home from the flow coming into the shop. And so in as much as you can minimize the flow coming into your home, and even with your littler kiddos, understanding, like I'll give you an example, kind of moving to like the boundaries side of things. Both of my boys, I have boys that are 6 and 8. They have shoe boxes that are treasure boxes. Okay. So I have my little label and it says Sean's treasure box. Okay. Everything that they get from birthdays, the dentist, stuff at school, like all the little knickknacks, all the little plastic crappy things, they go in there. And when it's full or getting full, then my boys make the decision as to what stays and what gets thrown out. They have a physical boundary. I don't go and get a huge bin and go, oh, it looks like you don't have enough room for your treasures. Here, let me get you this huge bin. No, they know that this is the boundary because we set the boundary based upon the value of that to us, okay? So that's a perfect example of like, if there is a category of stuff that is overwhelming you or your kids, to be able to figure out what is a physical boundary that we can use based upon how important that is to you. Because if you are a bookworm and you want 2,000 books in your home, I'm not going to tell you not to have 2,000 books if the importance of those books is worth that to you. But it needs to be in alignment with what actually matters to you. So the physical boundary part, it really is being able to make decisions within that boundary and be like, I don't want to manage more than a bookshelf of books. So we're going to start with the things that we love and that we read the most and that matter most to us. And if there's not enough room, it's either going to the resale shop or I'm using that out of sight, out of mind bin. So for like 30, 60 days, I'm going to put it away. And if I don't miss anything after 60 days, they're getting donated. It's just being able to understand, like, what would it look like if we experimented with less in this particular category? What would it look like if I have my, t-shirts and you look in your t-shirts and you're like, oh yeah, I remember when I got this and like this I got for free at church, right? And you're like, all these t-shirts. You're like, what would it look like if I just rotated 15 t-shirts for the next month and see if I miss any. It's all about having this mindset of like experimentation of with less, and then you're able to breathe because you're not seeing all the stuff. Seeing all the stuff is what's stressing you out. Having all of that and making decisions and having to choose and find and all of that, that's what causes the chaos.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I am right now currently in the decision overwhelm load. Like literally, I like bit my husband's head off this weekend several times because you're making me decide something. Like, what, you know, do you want to eat this or do you want this? And I'm like, I'm hungry, and both of those sound great. Just pick something. Well,
Yeah.
which one do you want? I'm like, do I have to decide again?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like the next thing. You know, it's just kind of like, you know, and so I love that. And I have done that before where even with my kids stuff, cause I tell them like, okay, do you still want this? Do you want that? And I try to make them be involved, but sometimes they also have that, like my 3 and 5-year-old, mainly my 5-year-old is having the biggest struggle with it. She just sometimes wants to keep things. And I'm just like, we cannot keep them all. Like we have to share our toys with other people who may need them, and trying to be more like generous and stuff like that and trying to use words, but sometimes there's things that she's just not willing to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but like there's this trampoline that we had, and I was cleaning the back playroom yesterday because I felt the overload of having to just declutter a lot of stuff in my house.
Yeah.
And I go through these binges where I do. And so one of them was a little trampoline. And I said, y'all guys, I haven't seen you guys playing on this for a while. So are you ready to let it go? And she said, she used her brother, like, no, Josh still jumps on it, you know, which is a 3-year-old. And I'm like, okay, well, how about we put it in the garage for a little bit and see, because it's starting to get cooler. So maybe you could jump outside on it or something, right? Because like a little play one, a smaller one. So right now it's in the garage, but I don't know if that's the right or the wrong thing to do if she wasn't, you know, ready to let it go. And also kind of going back to what you said about, like, I love the idea of you having like a physical space. Like, this is the space that I'm willing to negotiate to have my books on. If it doesn't fit here, that means we have to go through them and downsize or figure something else out, right? Whether it's like I have a she shed, so maybe like some of the books can go all in the house, but maybe a couple of them can go over there. So when I'm over there and want to relax, so it's just kind of, you know, doing those things too is really a good idea. And even with my kids, like right now they have the free for all playroom, which is also the second, you know, family room. But it's like, really, maybe I need to be like, okay, we're going to downsize our space. And this is the shelf that you have, Amelia. This is the space that you have, Josh. Like, what can we fit in here? And trying to do more of like the toy rotation, right? And doing that as well. Because I find it more and more now, our kids tend to go to electronics, or they want our phone, or they want our tablet, and I'm like, no. But whenever I, you know, try to get them to play and it's less stuff, I do notice they play better, you know? So I think that's important as well.
No, you're absolutely right. And a couple things just regarding that. Like, I understand that some kids are more sentimental, holding on to things more, and that is totally normal, especially for the 5-year-old and that age. And certainly there's a lot of different like ways that you can approach it. Sometimes when I have worked with parents that have young kids and they're kind of figuring out how to approach their rooms, or if your kids are like sharing a room or whatever, it's kind of like, okay, wow, what could we do in here? What would be super fun to play in here? Oh, okay, well, it's really hard to be able to play that because we have our stuffed animals all over the floor. Wouldn't it be cool if we actually had room to do X, Y, and Z in here? Or sometimes I've asked kids like, is there anything that you wish you could do in your room, but it's kind of hard because there's so much stuff in here? And being able to be like, if you want to be able to enjoy your space and be able to move in your space and do these things, then it might be that the stuffed animals that we have are just going to be the ones that you sleep with, or the ones that are going to be on your bed. And then the other ones we're going to put away for a little bit. Again, we're not getting rid of them. We're just going to kind of see what it's like to have these. And probably 60 to 90% of the time, depending on the kid, they don't miss it. They don't ask for it. And then it's like, then you can kind of make that decision about what you do with it. But I feel like the kids, like they need that breathing space, that mental space. And what you were talking about before was decision fatigue. And decision fatigue is like you have spent the whole day making decisions for yourself, for your kids, for your business. And so the last thing you want to do at the end of the day is have to make decisions. But the less stuff you have, the less decisions you have to make because there's just less stuff. Like if I have 10 shirts, I can make my choice and what I get dressed in, in the morning a lot easier than someone that has like 50 shirts. Like
I do this because I'm like, that's one thing that I have not been able to really conquer well is I love to get to a point where I have a capsule wardrobe and I minimize my stuff. And that's just like, that would be like heaven on earth for me. Best thing ever.
I have a few episodes on that are just really tactical about like what to do. And again, it's all about physical boundaries. So for me, even in like the closet, I'm like, my shirts are going to be 10 hangers that go in this spot. I'm going to pick my favorite 10. My favorite 10 shirts that fit me, that work right now, that go with other things. And you can just like, again, experimenting. It isn't like, oh my gosh, I can't let go. I'm scared. I don't want to. It's like, no, I'm just having what's in my closet represent what fits me and what I love to wear right now. Someone I interviewed said it's like the boutique you shop from every day. Like if you went into a store and nothing fit you and nothing was in your size or colors or anything you liked, like you wouldn't want to go in that store. And so our closet is like the boutique of what fits us now and what we like now, and just kind of limiting that to make the decision. You have to, again, go back to the why. And in that case, the why is decision fatigue. Like you want to have the mental clarity to be able to like enjoy talking to your husband at the end of the day and not be like you said, because I've done this with my husband too. And I'm just like, I just don't want to choose. Like just order something. I could care less. I'll eat oatmeal. Like it doesn't matter to me. So yeah, I can totally direct you to some resources on the wardrobe side of it for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I would absolutely love that. 'Cause I go in my closet now and I'm like,
Yeah.
which is funny, like a lot of times, I will put a t-shirt and some shorts on or whatever, workout pants or whatever, and I go for my walk. And Mondays and Tuesdays are my days that I'm like kind of not like dressed up and stuff like that. And I feel like I feel better when I do dress up, when I get ready from head to toe. So why I don't do it after I do get my workout, use me in and stuff like that is because I get busy, right? And I have like these office days and things like that. And so for me, I'm like, I will perform better and be an overall better mom, business person, community server, like all the things if I did it. But because the easy access is to grab a t-shirt and, it's just, I do that, right? Because it's a creature of habit.
Yeah.
But I know it's not the best thing for my higher good. But I feel like if I minimize in that area as well, then I don't really have a choice, And it's the same thing when it comes to pajamas. Like, why do I have, I don't know, 12 pairs of pajamas? Like, there's only 7 days in a week. Like,
That is true. That's true. Yeah, a lot of times when I'm helping people with their wardrobe, I just talk to them about like the frequency in which you do laundry. Now, obviously with like a larger family, it might be different, but if people are doing laundry, let's say on average, I do mine every day because I'm just weird that way. But if people did it like once a week, then you would, assuming that maybe something got dirty during the day, you would just need like 14 of whatever it was. And that's like the most you would need if they got dirty every single day. So it's just like, okay, I'm going to pick my 10 to 14 pairs of pajama pants that are in the best shape, put them in the bin. 10 to 14 best pajama shirts, put them in the bin. The rest of them, if they're not in great shape, then maybe I'm just, throwing away, or maybe they can go to the resale shop or something, or just donate them. But it's kind of dependent a little bit on laundry, like how frequent that is.
Yeah, so in our household, everybody does their own laundry. So they're all assigned a day. So they all have a laundry day. And if you missed your day, you better ask your little, sibling if you can put it in with whatever you need. If not, I'm sorry. And if it's your responsibility to switch days if you have an activity that afternoon, et cetera, et cetera. So they all do that. And then I wash mine once a week. So I can do it. It's just a matter of like, that's probably my biggest struggle is that area. And even for my small kids, obviously they don't shop for themselves and they don't dress themselves quite yet. I mean, my 5-year-old tries to, but it's just like I just have even too much stuff for them, and they tend to usually wear the same thing over and over again. But that dress is so cute though, you know?
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Vanessa. It was a little echoey because I was recording it in my basement, and also the clicking was the clicking of my keyboard as I was taking notes. So appreciate if you were able to deal with those things as you were listening. I think it was a great conversation, and it's just one example of the types of things that we can discuss in a coaching call. Now, I am going to be increasing my rates for coaching starting October 1st. So if you want to take advantage of my last call pricing for virtual decluttering to work on some of these mindset things you need help with, head on over to simplebyemmy.com/coaching, and you can sign up for a time slot there so I can coach you just like I have coached Vanessa. So I will see you next week. Bye for now. If you like today's podcast, here's what you can do. Just take 30 seconds to leave me a review. I know you're a busy mama. You're overwhelmed, in fact, but 30 seconds of your day makes such an impact. I'll be blessed by your words. They'll definitely make my day. And who knows, you might be entered for this month's giveaway. In Apple Podcasts, scroll down to write a review. Thanks so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you.